If you think about the current way in which you think and act and speak, that's the result of a complex matrix of influences in your life, from family or from friends or professors or people that have been close to you and important to you. And in the same way, if we want to understand what the gospel actually means for our lives, the only way we can be reshaped and redefined in light of who Jesus is and what he's done for us is equally going to come through relationships with other people. We need, especially at Northwestern, meaningful, deep, authentic relationships with one another.
RUF to me is all about just helping lots of different people grapple with sort of lifelong questions about faith, about Christianity, about just, you know, our relationship with God in general.
People come to RUF that you'd be so surprised at, and it's cool. It's really cool to sort of engage people that you, in conversations about God that are different than what you expect and changing who you are.
Come to RUF if you're looking for good fellowship, an atmosphere that's not like choking, that's not gonna like oppress you for not thinking or believing a certain thing or saying things in a certain way. You'll find good friends, you'll talk to some cool people, and you'll get to meet me.
And I think what's attractive to people is they recognize right away when they come to RUF that they don't have to have it all together, that they don't have to agree with everyone around them. And that's really driven by the gospel itself, because if we believe that God relates to us not based on our record but Jesus' record, that if he really relates to us on the basis of grace rather than merit, then that means that we recognize on a very profound level that we're no better than anyone else. And therefore, it gives us a resource and the ability to engage in relationships with people who are different from us and who may not agree with us. And people within RUF recognize that, and I think that's one of the things that they most appreciate, is that they can form relationships with people from very different backgrounds.
I really appreciate the fact that when I tell people I'm Jewish, they don't really look at me funny. They're just like, oh, okay, like whatever. And it's really interesting for me because like I don't know a lot of the stuff, especially like the New Testament stuff, because obviously they didn't teach me that in Hebrew schools. And Jason's always like, if you don't understand something or if you don't necessarily agree, like if you want to talk about anything, like come talk to me. Like it's very much working through things instead of like this is what's right and this is what's wrong. And it's just like the people in it are really great. And that's like another thing that keeps me going back is just I like hanging out with people.
I guess my impression of RUF thus far has been that they're a pretty chill group of people. Very easy to talk to, very open to discussion, you know, not going to shut you out because you maybe don't share their exact viewpoints, but willing to bring up the discussion.
To see people coming with honest questions and honest doubts, and to be able to wrestle through some of those things in order to understand what Christianity is for the first time has been an exciting thing to be a part of.
I was mostly apathetic to religion for the past 4 years of my life in high school. I wasn't going to say I was an atheist, but I guess I was what you'd call agnostic, not really denying anything, but not really confirming anything either. At the Bible study meetings, we have been going through this book called The Reason for God, Belief in the Age of Skepticism, and it kind of goes through the typical kind of arguments against religion and sort of troubleshoots them one by one and presents interesting ways of looking at them and kind of turns the sort of conventional atheist logic on its head and shows you that perhaps there is more to be said for religion in the modern age.
It interested me because it addressed a lot of the issues that I have with organized religion. Everyone's really active in the group and contributes a lot, and there's a lot of different ideas being thrown around, some that I agree with, some that not so much, but it's always interesting to see what people are thinking.
One of the things that's also been exciting is to see the ways in which students have sought to link their faith with their studies, because they recognize that God is the God over all of life, that there is not a dichotomy between the ways in which they're seeking to live their lives in response to the gospel and what they're doing in the classroom.
Well, Northwestern's campus is very intellectual, and so I think we have a lot of people here who either think that they already know what Christianity is all about, or they don't really care because they see it as illogical. And I think that Northwestern's RUF group has really helped me to ask the questions that I've always had about Christianity and to find real answers. And I think having people who listen to me and care that I have those questions and think that those questions are valid and legitimate and something that should be asked has been a really formative part of my experience at Northwestern.
Learning how to break out of their comfort zone in order to relate to people who are different from them, or to become suddenly concerned now about issues of poverty or injustice, and wanting to be part of God's work to bring renewal not just in our individual lives but also within society.
It's about studying the Bible, learning what Jesus did and sort of how to live in response to that is a large part of that. It's a large part of Jason's message every week.
RUF presents the gospel in a way that is relevant and just essential to what college students are facing today, and that it provides a community, leads to service and to growth in knowledge and wisdom and understanding that prepares students to go out and be parts of churches, to do ministry wherever they are, whether it's as an investment banker or an archaeologist or a scientist, or in ministry.
Well, it's important for people like me who don't know anything about God at all when they come here, and then they come here and figure out that their whole lives can be changed, that they can really, they can experience something that they never thought was possible or hadn't ever conceived of before. It can really open your mind.
I think that having RUF keeps you centered on something. I mean, there's a lot to be said for having a group of people that you'll be with for 4 years and who, you share something really, really deep and really profound with. And so, don't give that opportunity up. That's, by letting it slide. That's what I would say.